Welcome to Rico 12. I'm Justin B., your host and a child of an all-powerful, perfectly loving God and an addict living in the miracle of recovery one day at a time. Rico 12 is an open to all addictions and afflictions organization dedicated to exploring the common threads of the differing manifestations of alcoholism, sharing tools, and offering hope from those walking a similar path. We gather from diverse backgrounds, faiths, and locations to learn and support one another. Our speakers come from various fellowships and experiences, demonstrating the universal principles of recovery. Rico 12 is not allied or affiliated with any specific 12-step fellowship. This is Rico 12 speaker meeting number 404. Thank you for joining us live or on the recording later. Today's speaker is Sherri L. from New York, correct, Sherri? From New York? Is that where we're at? Awesome. Who's a first-time Rico 12 speaker. She is talking today about the 12 steps. I look forward to hearing more about this message in a few minutes, but first, a few quick announcements. Rico 12 does offer a variety of recovery resources, including podcasts and social media communities. To explore more, visit Rico12.com, that's RECO12.com, or check the chat in the show notes for links. We are still seeking a few speakers for the 12-week series that will be starting in 2 weeks on each of the 12 steps. So if you have a favorite step and you're like, I want to speak for about 25 minutes and do a Q&A on that, send me an email at rico12pod@gmail.com and we'll get things lined up. Rico 12 is self-supporting, and your contributions help us continue this mission. For information on how you can donate, I'll put links in the chat and the show notes to the website, but you can go to rico12.com/support. Your support, both financially and by word of mouth, truly makes a difference in helping us share these messages of hope and recovery. Each week, we receive light and inspiration from our speakers. Their experience brings hope, meaning, worth, and growth to us as listeners. Now, I'm going to welcome today's guest speaker, Sherri Levy, and here is just a little about her. Sherri came into recovery in 2002 with profound self-hatred, multiple suicide attempts, psych wards, blackouts, and an overwhelming sense of shame and guilt. Through the transformative power of the 12 steps, what once seemed like an unbreakable burden of alcoholism and low self-esteem has been replaced by a profound sense of ease, freedom, and what she now calls Godfidence. The disease was determined to destroy her, but the program is designed to save her, and today God helps others through her. Take it away, Sherri. The floor is yours.
Hey guys, I'm Sherri. I am a recovered alcoholic. I say recovered because in the beginning of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, it says we have recovered from a hopeless state of mind and body, and I have recovered. I still continue to work on my alcoholism, and that's daily. And the way that I do that is through the 12 steps, because that's the program of recovery. We read it a lot in meetings. Here are the steps we took, which are suggested as a program of recovery. I am... sober. I'll be 24 years sober on February 2nd. So that's 2202 is my sobriety date. And I love the 12 steps. I love the 12 steps because they bring me back to sanity. I can go from zero to crazy in an instant, and the 12 steps bring me back to sanity. I want to speak a little bit more about what Justin read. I do consider my life to be ease and freedom, and that's what I'm looking for in all of my life. Everything for me, that's all I want is ease and freedom. If I am speaking on a podcast, I want it to be easy and free. If I am walking my dog, I want it to be easy and free. If I am receiving some feedback at work, I want to be easy and free. It's because I can really, really get overwhelmed and get anxious, and it comes out really loud because I'm Italian. I'm from New York. I just moved back here. So life is a little busy, there's a lot on my plate, as they say. But you know what? If I want ease and freedom, I only do one thing at a time. I have to change all my information, my driver's license, the car, to New York. I'm looking for a place to live. I'm staying with my family for right now. And, I work 2 jobs. I have a giant dog who likes to be walked 4 times a day. So it's just a lot, and then I do recovery. I have sponsees. I have a sponsor. I go to meetings, and I am going to plug in primary purpose group meetings. If you've never been, they are actual book studies where we study the book rather than share experience, strength, and hope. And it's wonderful because they talk about the history, and when it says Fred, those beautiful, wonderful, wise people on the meetings tell you Fred's real name, and it's just kind of fun. I can give you more information about that at the end of the meeting. But I just love them. Honestly, I just started going to them in November, and I honestly feel like a newcomer. Okay, so let's get busy in the steps. I'm going to actually start at 10, 11, and 12. And the first thing I want to say about 10, 11, and 12 is that when people say, I live in 10, 11, and 12, it makes me cringe. And here's why. I live in 1, 2, and 3 because I am continuously injecting my power where it doesn't belong, or thinking I have power where I don't have any power. In other words, that means I don't mind my own business. And so I'm running around the world thinking I'm running the show, not just my show, but your show too. And some days I'll say, hey, God, here's my will in my life. It's all you. But then I'll try to run the show in everybody else's life. So it's really, really, really important for me to talk, to remember to talk to God about the powerlessness and unmanageability, So step 10 is about continuing to take personal inventory. And the reason I wanted to start in 10, 11, and 12 is because if you're new, you can practice 10, 11, and 12 as soon as you walk through the door. If you don't know the steps by heart, you can read them on page 59 and 60 in the big book. But I'm just going to buzz through them as if you do. So step 10, we take personal inventory, and when we're wrong, we admit it quickly. Step 10 in just Sherri language means that if I do something wrong, I apologize for it right away. Or if I'm absolutely bat crazy in my head, I call my sponsor, because the 12 and 12 talks about a spot check inventory. I don't like crazy anymore. Remember, I like ease and freedom, and peace is still. And if I'm not still, then I'm the opposite. Then there's something going on, and I need to call my sponsor and talk it, through with her. And she reminds me of things. And so what basically step 10 does for me is it ensures that I have a better tomorrow. If I try to live right today, I have a better future, and I like myself more, which comes with that Godfidence that I spoke of. Step 11, prayer meditation. Today I pray pretty much only step 11 prayer, which is, God, please bless me with the knowledge of your will for me and give me the power and the strength to carry that out. So all I need power and strength for is to carry out the will of God for me. I know sometimes people speak about, how do I know if it's the will of God? Are you there? Are you in it? Are you at work where you're supposed to be doing God's will as a good employee because he's the employer? That's it. It's just, honestly, for me, step 11 is about presence. It's just about presence. And then step 12, we can help others anywhere. And this is not to be braggadocious, but this is where I like to, especially if you're new, I like to give people the ideas that in the big book, in working with others, the last paragraph, I think it's the last sentence or the first sentence. It says, to be helpful is our only aim, period. It doesn't say to be helpful to alcoholics is our only aim, because it's an attitude. Being of service, being helpful is an attitude, not a sacrifice. And what I have to say about that is, when you have ease and freedom in your life, you are happy to serve. You are happy to help. That it comes as like a byproduct of just having ease and freedom in life. And, a lot of the freedom, of course, is from self, which I'll get into. So in saying that, 10, 11, and 12, you can start practicing, because the whole thing is practice. We practice the steps, we live the steps, we work the steps. There is paperwork. And I say that because it is just paperwork. It's not a big deal. I don't know if anyone knew Don Major in Kentucky. He passed away, but he was a beautiful, beautiful spiritual man, long time. And he used to say, there are no bad days in AA. And if it's a bad day, it's because it's a selfish day. And that is the truth. Chuck C used to talk about this being a disease of perception, and Clancy used to talk about this being a disease of perception. I got to say, I know that seems like I'm being a name dropper, but I'm only 23 years sober. I'll be 24 next month. I have such an old-timer's heart, man. I am so about shut up and get in the car. I really am, because the chapter is how it works, not how it feels. You know, I don't have to feel like doing it in order to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and go. That's a little bit of a summary, 10, 11, and 12. I may come back to that, but I know, hey, Justin, are you timing me? Or can you? And just give me
I can give you a 5-minute warning.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Because I can talk, guys. I can talk. So let's start at step 1. I talked a little bit about if I am injecting power. That's how I spend a lot of my time, not minding my own business. And then it gets me upset. And so, you know, the thing is if I'm powerless over alcohol. Oh, and here's the thing. I like to point this out. It says we admitted we are powerless over alcohol. It doesn't say I'm powerless over people, places, and things. Now, if you're in another program and that program says that, that is completely up to you. But in this step, the step is we admitted we are powerless over alcohol. The reason I say that is because I am not powerless over people, places, and things, because they are not mine to have power over. So I can't have power from the beginning. So I can't be powerless. They're God's, not mine. And so I'm powerless over my alcoholism and what it thinks about the people, places, and things. And so I have a cure for that. And it is, in fact, the 12 steps. So if I'm in step 1 and I'm trying to inject power and I admit my powerlessness over my alcoholism, then what next? Then I look at my life being unmanageable. Why is my life unmanageable? Because I'm managing it. And so I have to fire myself as manager. And when I do that, and sometimes I've gotten on my knees and I'm like, oh yeah, God, I forgot. I'm fired. I fire myself. And, you know, you're back in business, buddy. Thanks. You know, step 2, came to believe. That's been such a beautiful evolving thing. I really like, I've always referred to it as God, but I really like Gus. I've been using Gus for the last few years, GUS, Great Universal Spirit. And the reason that I like that, it seems to be all encompassing and it seems to be universal and it seems to be bigger than what I grew up with as a New York Italian Catholic. So for me, I had to come here and believe what I believed. And then I came here and someone else told me something that I never, ever would have thought of. She said, your God is too small. Never occurred to me that I could have a bigger God. I never even thought about that. I just thought, this is the God I know. God is shaming, condemning, punishing. I'm going to hell anyway. Why try? So she tells me this and I ponder it. And then one evening, I was about between 1 and 2 years sober. One evening, I found myself on my knees and I said, hey, to the God that I knew, to the God that I came here with. And I said, you're fired. Nothing personal, but you're not working for me. I put my arms out wide open and I said, universal God, bigger God. They said that I can have a bigger experience and a better relationship with you. And that's the thing, man. I have an ever evolving relationship with a never changing God. I just didn't know that God was bigger than my thoughts. I just didn't know that God was bigger than my old ideas. I didn't even know I was selfish until I got here. And I was pissed when they first told me that. I hung up on people. I'm like, I'm the most generous, kind person I know. And I was, but it was all manipulation. And it was all self-seeking and self-centeredness. Look what I did. Look what I got you. Look what, all this. So for step 2, it's become bigger and better over the years, and it's a really, really peaceful, easy feeling. Because here's what I learned I call it step 2.5. Belief is not reliance. So now I believe in a bigger God, but doesn't mean I rely on God. It doesn't. So I have to believe and rely on God, and there's a huge difference. And so in step 3, when it talks about turning my will and my life over, people say, oh, it says you just made a decision. Well, I'm hungry. I go to a restaurant and I make a decision to eat and I order some food. I'm going to literally starve. I'm going to die, because if I don't actually then eat, I'm going to die. So I can make a decision to take the 3rd step, but the action part of it is, the book says next we launched out on a vigorous course of action. What I'm saying is that I can turn it over, but then I have to take the action. And so even if it's not right into a 4th step, it's just a situational thing where I need to give it to God, then what it means for me is back the F off. If I give something to God, then what my action is back the F off. Sometimes I forget that surrender is an action. Sometimes I forget that waiting is an action. Sometimes I forget that shut up is a spiritual principle. And that there's a spiritual principle that I love called so what? She said this, so what? They did that, so what? He ate my sandwich, so what? Most things aren't as big as we make them out to be. But see, that's the ism part, right? And I get to treat my ism, so then I keep going. The thing is, for me, with the 4-step inventory, is it is paperwork. It's not a big deal. It's never been hard for me. I know there are a couple things in the book that the language talks about it. I honestly have never found it to be hard, because I wanted to be free. I've always wanted to be free. I've searched and sought and prayed and did all the things outside of AA before I came to AA. And I'll tell you about that. Before I came to AA, I didn't want to admit that I was an alcoholic, and that's what took me so long to get here. Tell you why. I was a high bottom drunk, which means I was a binge drinker. But when I realized that I was alcoholic, when I realized that I drank and couldn't stop, or I drank to blackouts, or I drank to puking. I wish there was a more ladylike way to say that, guys. There's just not. So I would drink so much that I would puke, and then I would go back in the bar or back into the party and drink some more. I'm pretty sure just even that covers it. So it was hard for me to admit that. But once I got here, I really just wanted freedom. And they kept saying, and I thought it was so weird in these steps and all that. But, the 4th step is just paperwork. And I actually run through steps 1 through 12 annually. I do it annually because I want to stay free. Because if I'm to become a channel of thy peace and thy love and comfort and understanding and all those things, then I have to widen the channel. The 11-step promises we will intuitively know. Talks about God's will. Here's the thing. I can't hear or intuitively know the will of God if I'm full of shame, fear, guilt, depression, remorse, regret, morbid reflection, selfishness, self-seeking, dishonesty. Before I move too far into the 4th step, I want to talk about the 3rd step prayer, actually, which is found on page 63. See, the book is just magic. So, God, I offer myself to thee. Why? So that you can build with me and do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondages of self. Why? So that I may better do your will. Take away my difficulties. Why? So that victory over them, so that my life will bear witness to those I will help through you and with you. Because here's the thing. So many people come, especially newcomers or new to working the steps, because listen, there's a lot of people around who hadn't worked the steps for years without a drink. The third step prayer is so that we can be helpful to others, but it sounds selfish. And some people come and desperately say, relieve me of the bondage of self. I want to be a better person. That's so selfish, right? The third step prayer is still selfish after we just read 60 to 63, where it talks about don't be selfish, but it does, right? It sounds selfish, but that's perception. I perceive that this prayer is going to relieve me of the bondage of the guilt and the shame and the fear and the remorse and the regret and all the things, right? But it's not about that. It's relieve this so I can do that. It's take away my difficulties, not so I feel better. I mean, I will feel better. We all know that. But it's so that I can help those. Right? So that's magic. So then step 4, like I said, we go right into step 4. The way I do it, I sit down with someone and I do steps 1, 2, and 3 together. And then we start the first column of step 4 in one session. And because I think that's the way the book has it. And listen, man, this is an old book. This is an old book. And they were doing this stuff within days. And I'll never forget, I said something in my home group in Nashville that the 4th step was never hard. And it's not hard. It's just paperwork. And this guy afterwards shared, and he said his name, and he said the 4th step is hard. And I've been working on mine for a year. Well, okay, I wouldn't sponsor someone who did that. And here's why. Because when we do 1, 2, 3, we start to feel better, right? And that's the goal. We feel better. But then everybody tends to quit because we quit what helps, right? My friend Sam in Nashville says, he's a jokester. He says, meditation works so well for me, I stopped doing it. Right? Because it works. And then we get feeling better. And then we're like, oh, I don't have to do that today. I'm good, And then it's like back in disaster, right? So for me anyway. So step 4 to me, I don't know, man, it's really easy. I also say step 4, column 3.5, because I have everyone write in vertically, prayer, because everyone forgets the prayers. Not everyone. I know that's very general, but a lot of people. I got to say, man, everybody that I've ever worked with, to be honest, in all these years, no one stops for the prayers. Everyone says things like, oh, that's different, or oh, I've never done that before, or oh, we got to stop and pray, man, because that's where the magic happens. Step 5, I think the biggest thing for me in step 5 was that someone's face didn't move. And that meant they didn't judge me. I sat down and I dumped all my crap and I did not get judged. Things I was so ashamed of. And there was that one thing that I held on to. And then finally, I told somebody about it. Oh, and she was so kind about it, and so understanding and so loving and so considerate. And she helped me make amends where I never thought in a million years that could happen. Step 6 and 7. Can you give me a hand signal, Justin, of how long I have?
You have 6 minutes.
Oh, no. Okay. Okay. Step 6 and 7. Step 6 talks about character defects. Step 7 talks about shortcomings. Bill Wilson said I didn't want to use the same word in 2 back-to-back steps. However, if you look up defects of character in the dictionary and you look up shortcomings, they are different. Defect of character, I just named all those. Selfish, self-centered, dishonest, afraid, shame, guilt, fear, remorse, controlling, judgmental, all the things. Handing over my shortcoming is what? My shortcoming is if I am controlling someone. My shortcoming is minding my own business. So I have to practice the spiritual principle of mind my own business. Do you know how many people in the world are happy when I mind my own business? It's like, do you know how many people are happy when I practice the spiritual principle of shut up? So we have the defect of character. If I'm afraid, the book says we asked ourselves why we had this fear. Wasn't it because self-reliance failed us? Well, yes, it is. So if self-reliance, if I'm in fear and self-reliance is failing me, then the spiritual principle where I'm falling short, that's the shortcoming. It is, where am I falling short? So if I'm in fear, where I'm falling short is practicing God reliance. And so the other thing I want to say about 6 and 7 really quick is that it's God's job. I hear people saying, oh, I'm working on my defects. Yeah, you're not, you can't. You can't do it, because there's a line in the book that says we had moral and philosophical convictions galore, but we could not live up to them. And I can't. It doesn't say we would not live up to them. It says we could not live up to them. And the thing is that it says we get ready to give them to God. And then it says we ask God to take them. And then where's the action? Oh, then I get to go practice the spiritual principle. Step 8 is a list. It's only a list, man. It's just a list. Write the names down, write who you think. There's no analytical things about it. The sponsor is there to help us do everything. So you do the 4-step. The sponsor helps you finish the 4-step. I do the 8-step list. The sponsor helps me do the 9th step. Briefly, I want to say about the 9th step. There's a lot of times where I don't make direct amends. There's a little speech that goes around. I don't know where it's ever come from, but someone along the way said, we go to the person, we sit them down, we tell them what we've done wrong. We ask them if we've missed anything. Okay, so we selfishly say, now it's on you, buddy. I screwed up, so let me put it back on you. I don't do that. So then there's this part of that speech that says, okay, well, what can I do to make it right? What? Let me selfishly put it back on you and you get to decide what I get to do to make it right? I don't do that. If I owe an apology is different than an amends. An amends is making things right. It's like mending the bridge, mending the fence. It's mending things. If you want to mend a relationship, that's different. An apology is different. And so, there's some very beautiful and creative things that have happened, with amends, not just with myself, but with others, because it's not necessarily direct. It's me putting out there to God, Gus, great universal spirit, the universe, that I'm willing to change and that I am truly sorry for what I've done. And that I want to make it right, that I do want to be better, have better, live better, do better. I do. And all of us do. And so if I could remove my own defects of character, I assure you I would. I would not know you. I would not be your speaker today, but I can't do it. We had to have spiritual help. Read page 42 and 43, guys. It talks a lot about we are 100% hopeless without divine help. And then it also says, okay, I lost it, so I'm going to move on. Anyway, read page 42 and 43 of the big book. And if you don't have one, it's online. And so briefly, I just want to say, I know I talked a lot about the steps and not a lot of my experience, but the thing is that's the program of recovery. I truly believe that we all have the same story with different details. To learn about the steps, to hopefully be inspired or motivated by the steps and getting into it or getting more into it or helping somebody else get into it. That's what I hope today, is that I was able to share the program of recovery, because my sad ass story doesn't matter. It's not going to keep me sober. And that's the thing I'll tell you, man. You talk about a character defect, victim. That was really hard. And I got really angry when someone said I was being a victim. But I speak victimese, man. And it's part of manipulation. And it's part of, don't you get me? Don't you get me? I want you to get me. I need you to understand. And you know what I realized? that you guys get me and you guys understand me. And this is why I have a sponsor, because she gets me and she understands me and she makes me feel normal, if you can believe that. And she helps me with the things that I want most in every area of my life, which is ease and freedom. She reminds me how to keep ease and freedom. Peace is still. And I like peace today. Thank you guys so much for having me, Justin. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sherri. That was powerful. I've written down several questions that I have for you. Our live audience, if you would like to ask Sherri a question, please write it in the chat. If you'd like me to not read your first name and keep it completely anonymous, send me a direct message, or at the top of the question, say anonymous, please, and I will respect that 100%. But where I'd like to start, Sherri, when you and we crossed paths, I think it was a couple of months ago when we first said, "Hey, let's make this happen." You jumped at the, "Hey, I want to do this on 1-2-3, January 23rd." And you talked about your sobriety date being 2202. Tell me a little bit about numbers and why they're powerful or have meaning for you in your life.
I absolutely love numbers. And I'll tell you, so 1-2-3, when I speak of ease, the saying, "Oh, that was easy as 1-2-3." And I say that and I practice that and I think that because I believe you are what you think. And so when I saw 1-2-3 as you offered a date, I was like, yes, I'll take that one. And 2202, that was something that I could remember if I decided to stay sober, because my last drink was in January, but I don't know when. And because, good. Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, and I love that. Ease is peace. Dive just a little bit deeper on that. Tell me different ways that you seek peace through ease. And let me phrase this also in a different way, because I heard someone say peace, not ease, is the reward for following our higher power. But you're talking about both together. Talk to me about that.
So in the 11th step in the big book, it says we relax and take it easy. That's ease and peace, right? A lot of times, I'll give you an example. I had someone come to me who was 3 years sober. She called me. She got my number from somebody, and she called me and she said, "Oh, hey, and da-da-da-da, and I'm looking for another sponsor. And I live in 10, 11, and 12, and I meditate every morning, and I take 20 minutes to do, prayers, and I write, and I journal, and I do this, and then at night I do my review, and I do this, and I do that, and I do the other, and I go to so many meetings a week, and I work at a treatment center, and I sponsor people." And I said, "Stop talking." You see the difference? So when I talk about ease, and when I say there's a group of us who want to get the tattoo, "Peace is still." Because what happens is when I'm not in ease or when I'm not in peace, then I'm not still. I'm praying and I'm meditating and I'm smothering people and I'm doing all this. That's not peace. That's me trying to run the show. And when people say to me, "I don't know how you sponsor so many people," I say, because I don't count. Number one, I've heard people count. It seems I'm very put off by it, because who cares, right? I really like that little spiritual principle of, so what? How many people do you sponsor? So what? I don't know. Because I don't know how you have time, and some people I spend 30 minutes or an hour with on the phone, several days or whatever, if they've got something going on or they're new to me. And you know what? The thing is, God owns my time. So God makes the schedule. And so I don't plan out, and it's really interesting because some days no one will call. And then other days, everyone will call. And I'm like, all right, God, if this is the way you want it, but you're going to have to help me get some work done too, So that's the thing. It's like peace is still. And so when I'm up in my head, it means I'm not at peace. And I think that, I don't know if I answered your question, but both of them together, they're very similar. It also says, so we relax and take it easy. We don't struggle. And I find myself constantly struggling if I'm not consciously contacted, connected, aligned with God.
Got questions about addiction, recovery, or just life in general? Let's noodle it out together. Grab your big book, a pen, a highlighter, and a notepad, and join Nikki M. and me, Justin B., on Rico 12 Noodle It Out with Nikki M. Each episode, we take real-life questions, ours, yours, and those from the recovery community, and dig deep into the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous to find real, practical solutions. So, if you're ready to do the work and apply the solution, tune in to Noodle It Out with Nikki M., streaming now on your favorite podcast platform. You know, Sherri, this is so powerful. I want to come back a little bit and ask a little bit on this this stillness. My life is pretty loud and a lot of chaos going on around me right now. A lot of the exteriors are very distracting. How do you find stillness in that noise when that's the reality of my life right now?
Mm-hmm. True story. I run away. Not forever, but I'll even go to the bathroom and I'll breathe God in, Sherri out, God in, Sherri out. Because, see, I can't be distracted or overwhelmed because God is not noisy. If I'm in alignment, I just observe. When I get affected, when I get disturbed, when I get restless or irritable or people are annoying me, my family is so loud. Oh my gosh. And I live by myself in Nashville and I'm staying with my aunt and uncle till I find a place. And this is like, they're the matriarch and patriarch. And so everyone comes here and the kids, there's 1,000 kids and they run and scream and holler. And in the beginning it was like, but then I realized it's like, so what? I practice the spiritual principle of so what? I've often thought, just tell them to ask the kids to stop running. Mind your own business. I practice the spiritual principle of mind your own business. That's not my business that the kids are running. Or I go in the bathroom and I pray. And I say, thank you, God, for the food. Thank you, God, for the loud family. Thank you, God, that I can hear. Thank you, God, for the laughter. Thank you, God, for these opportunities. Life is busy. Work is busy. Thank you, God, that, because here's the thing, man, love is not convenient. Love is not always convenient. And, the sponsees call and sometimes I look, and not anyone on the podcast or probably not anyone listening after the fact. Sometimes sponsees will call and I just look at the phone and I'm like, man, I can't, God. And then I hear my own voice and go, well, Sherri, did you give God your time today or not? So I think that we get confused or we misinterpret stillness because stillness, there's no action. The action is surrender. Surrender to the loud voices. Surrender to the busyness. Surrender to the overwhelmment. Acceptance is the answer to all my problems, right? If I accept the loudness, the busyness, the chaos, if I just accept it, right, then I don't have to do anything about it. But that's the ism, isn't it? Live and on fire is I want to fix it, control it, make everybody shut up, tell the kids to stop running. Take my dinner and go eat in the car for God's sake, So I feel you, and it is, and honestly, I think really what it's about is practice.
No,
sometimes,
go ahead.
I just want to say this last thing. Sometimes when I'm in a situation, I will put, I don't know what kind of phone you have, but I have reminders on my phone, and all it says is God. And the reminder it's like an alert and it will go off and then I'll set it again for an hour later. And it'll just say God and I will make conscious contact. It reminds me to make conscious contact in the busyness, in the loudness.
That's awesome. And I set timers like that sometimes too. But I think the difference for me, and I'm learning from you, Sherri, and I really appreciate this, is when that timer goes off, I go, okay, I need to spend 5 minutes with God right now. And I put the timer on for 5 minutes, and I'm managing that and I'm trying to make it work the way that I want it to work.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that it sounds like, God, okay, back with conscious contact. God, you're in control. Here we go. And it's not this formal thing.
No, because see, that's the thing. Now, this is an action program. I don't want to dissuade anybody from that or what we've said all these years, but surrender is an action. Here's another action: breathing. When that little timer goes off and it says God, I just go, that's my action. But we forget that our actions can be ease.
Yeah, that's powerful. Thank you so much. Mm-hmm. I've got a question that comes in from an anonymous attendee here. This person says, when the insanity comes, like Jim of More About Alcoholism, what do I do? I've relapsed quite a few times because I feel there is nothing I can do except act out. So what do you do when that insanity is just there?
Well, I will say this. I don't know anybody who's relapsed who's had a sponsor and worked all 12 steps. I just don't. In almost 24 years, I just don't know anybody who's relapsed. Because I will say this, them steps are magical, man. They will free you from what makes you want to drink. But see, insanity in any form, if I'm insane about, drinking or whatever it is that you do, then my sponsor will help get me through that. The steps will help get me through that. That's, it's a spiritual solution. That's what I was going to say about page 42 in the big book. When I said read page 42 and 43 in the big book, it says it will solve all your problems. It doesn't say just one of them. And, it talks about the imperious urge in the book. And what will quiet that is working with someone else. If I'm insane, it's because I'm in self. And the only way that I can be relieved of the bondage of self is to go to God, go to my sponsor, and go to the steps. I used to have a sponsor that used to take me through the steps if I was in and I was hot on fire, man. I come in screaming, yelling, cussing, and she's like, okay, let's stop. Let's say the serenity prayer. I'm like, damn you, But then she'll go, okay, 1, I'm powerless over alcohol. My life's unmanageable. Can't believe that power writers can restore me to sanity. Okay, God, I give it to you. That's just little prayers, right? And so sponsorship and the steps, man, I just honest to God, don't know anybody who's ever relapsed in all these years who had a sponsor and worked the steps. Thanks. Thank you for the question. Good question. And I'm happy to help if you want to call me.
Yeah. So what we'll do, Sherri, is if anybody out there wants to make contact with Sherri, please send me an email at rico12pod@gmail.com and I will get you connected with Sherri and you guys can have those conversations together, because I don't want to put your phone number out here in this recorded thing. So never know who might, anyways, we'll go forward from there. So I love this experience that you shared, where your sponsor, I believe it was your sponsor, said, Sherri, your God is just too small. Mm-hmm. You need a bigger God. And the thing that you said after that was that you have an ever-evolving relationship with a never-changing God. I love that description. Talk to us a little bit more about how that relationship with that never-changing God is evolving in your life lately.
Lately, definitely, with everything that's going on, God doesn't change. I change. God doesn't go anywhere. I do. Once, and the thing is that it wasn't a sponsor, actually. It was, I was working at our central office, and at the time she was the office manager. And there's a book called Your God is Too Small. And so she said, you need to read Your God is Too Small. And I ordered the book online, and I'll be honest, to this day, I never read it, and I don't even own it anymore. It probably got tossed in a move or something. I never read the book because the concept of my God was too small just blew my mind. Like, what? I can have a bigger God. It just never occurred to me. And so, I don't know. I just have a true reliance on God. I have it really is how it works for me today is reliance. It's reliance now because I'm sure of God now, because I am 100% certain. And for anybody who's listening or on the podcast now, here's the thing: 100% of the time you've made it through everything, man. That's awesome. And so that's one of my favorite sayings that's just like mine and not in any book or anything is it'll work out. It always does. And I want to tell a little story. I was driving, I was moving again. It was a moving thing. And I was driving from one place to another and I was trying to book a hotel. And mind you, I'm driving. I got 2 dogs in the back and a cat in the front seat. And then I got my stuff behind me. And so I'm calling hotels and I'm trying to book a hotel. Everybody was booked. And I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. And I'm like, okay, well, so then I call another hotel. And finally the lady says to me, it's July 4th weekend. I'm like, but it's July 1st. It's only July 1st. So I got off with her. I was glad at least to know what was happening. And I said, all right, God, true story. This is the prayer. All right, God, you're going to have to deal with this shit because I have no idea. And I really didn't have any idea. But about an hour and a half later, it intuitively came to me that I knew somebody who had a downstairs apartment to where I was going. I hadn't talked to her or heard from her or seen her on Facebook in over a year. And I texted her and said, hey, remember that apartment? Do you guys still have that? Is it available for rent? And she said, come on. And I literally drove from wherever I was trying to find a hotel into her driveway and into that space. And I stayed there for over a year. Because that's how God works. Because I truly backed off. That's how it works for me today, is that to be God reliant, I have to back off for me. And also just the knowledge of his will for me and the power to carry that out. If I want the knowledge of God's will for me, I have to back off and forget about my own knowledge. Because I do think I know everything and I just don't.
No, this is so good. I love that you're talking about, the actions of backing off, actions of shutting up, actions of saying, say what, or so what. Those are spiritual principles and actions that are, many I would look at and go, well, that's kind of passive. That's not very active. But there's an action to it. Describe a little bit more of these passive actions as I'm calling them right now. Hey, Spearheads, if you're looking to dive deeper into the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous with people who live the solution, then you won't want to miss RICO 12 Big Book Roundtable. Join David G., Nikki M., and me, the moderator Justin B., 3 recovered addicts from multiple fellowships, as we break down the big book line by line. In each 30-minute episode, we share our experience, strength, and hope in a real, raw, and practical roundtable discussion. So, if you are ready to learn and apply what you learn, tune in to RICO 12 Big Book Roundtable on your favorite podcast platform.
So my uncle and I have discussed like a time limit because I don't want to live with him and he doesn't want to live with me about me moving out. And it's next weekend and I've been snowed in. And, I literally today was like, again, kind of the same prayer. You're going to have to work this shit out, God, because I got to be out next week. It's like, and then all of a sudden, like a couple things that I had looked at over a month ago came back to mind. Here's another thing that happened, which this happened a few days ago, but I kind of said the same prayer. God, you're going to have to figure this out. So then a realtor who I had, either she was supposed to get back to me or I was supposed to get back to her, but we didn't. So like 2 weeks later, when I prayed that prayer, God, you're going to have to do something because I'm supposed to be moving next weekend. she texts me like a couple weeks later and she's like, oh, hey, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh, hey, yeah, I'll let you know. I'm, this weekend and we're about to get snowed in again, And so I'm like, but here's the thing too. I want to talk about the snow. I genuinely feel like the snow is for me to rest, because otherwise I would drive myself crazy looking for the perfect apartment for the perfect price at the perfect space and the perfect time with the perfect neighbors and the perfect landlord and the perfect electric bill, because I'm calling the electric company to see how much every bill is. You see what I'm saying? You see the difference? It's like, shut up and shut in. That's what God wants for me.
That's a great experience. Did you have more that you wanted to share on that?
No, good.
Okay, good. Oh, this is so good. What one of the things that you shared that I found interesting was, if I go and make amends with somebody and then I say, okay, now that I've done that, what can I do to make things right?
Mm-hmm.
You said, hey, that's kind of selfish. It's putting that back on them. Give me an example of an amends that doesn't put it back on them in a situation where I've harmed somebody and I go to make amends and I want to make it right. Talk to me through that.
So you mean not make a direct amends, make it right? Or do you mean a direct amends and I
direct
make it right?
amends?
Okay.
And yes.
So I don't, so let me, cause I was going to say a non-direct amends, but let me think for a second. So I have a friend who got upset with me over something, and we had a beautiful relationship. I mean, she was one of my, I called her my AA besties, and something happened and my intentions were really good, but it upset her family because I reached out to someone in her family about something and it really upset the child. And, I told her that I said I was going to do this, that, and the other. And I said, I won't apologize for that. And then later, because God is with me, right? So when people say, I ask God to be with me, I don't ever ask God to be with me. I acknowledge that God is with me. God is with me. God is with me. Because that's for me, not God. I don't get on my knees for God. I get on my knees for me. My sponsor's 50 years sober and still gets on her knees twice a day. And I asked her, I said, do you really still get on your knees twice a day? She said, sure. Nobody told me not to. So back to the amends. So, and God being everywhere. So my aunt, who I'm staying with, says to me one day when I'm trying to help, because, I got to get in there with my will. And even though it's help, I'm thinking I'm doing the right thing. And you know what she said to me? She stopped because I was going to do the dishes. I didn't want her to do the dishes because she just cooked this big meal for all of us on a Sunday. And she turned around to me and she said, Sherri, sometimes help isn't always helpful. And so I texted my friend and I said, you know what? This is what my aunt said. And I realized that I was not being helpful, that I was intrusive on your intruding my will, injecting power of my will into you and your family, because I wanted to do something. It was simple. I wanted to send her flowers because she was having a surgery. And when I asked her where she was going to be having the surgery, and she ignored me, what I needed to do was respect her ignoring me, because she didn't want me to send her flowers. She didn't want me to spend the money because she knew I was doing this big move and all the whole 9 yards. And so I made direct amends by apologizing, because see, that's the difference, is there's an apology and there's an amend. So the apology mended the relationship. The making it right is not doing it anymore, and not just to her. You see, that's the thing. Amends is changing behavior. So the next time I want to inject my will to wash somebody else's dishes that they said no thank you when I offered, again, the amends is changing behavior. I have to not inject my will. I have to not be intrusive to everybody, not just her. That's the amends. The amend is mending my soul, sort of, if you will, with the universe. And I'm not saying that I don't owe that person something, but it's very situational. If you owe someone money, you pay them back. If you stole from someone, we find a way to pay them back. And sometimes that looks like you go to the next county over and you buy gift cards and you mail them from that post office so they never know it was from you if it has to be done anonymously. There are so many beautiful examples that I could tell you about amends stories where they're not direct because, but it makes it right. I'm just putting out there to God and the universe that I want to make it right, that I want to, and that's what matters. See, the people, I remember I went in to apologize to someone to make it right in a grocery store that I blipped out. And you know what he said to me? Well, thank you, but I don't even remember that. You see what I'm saying? We overthink things. We think we're that important and we're just not that important. So we have to be very careful not to be selfish in our amends. We have to be very careful not to intrude, not to inject our power. Help isn't always helpful.
Yeah, that's great. Help isn't always helpful. And my sponsor tells me when I say, I was just trying to be helpful. He says, you know what? Being helpful can sometimes be the sunny side of manipulation. It's like, oh, yes.
Yeah.
No, this is good. So before we wrap things up, Sherri, do you have any final words of wisdom for us? Hey, Rico 12 Spearheads. If our recovery resources have helped you, please consider a donation. Your financial support, as well as your word of mouth support, keeps Rico 12 running and reaching the man who is still sick. Donate today at rico12.com/support or check the show notes for PayPal and Venmo links. Every contribution helps carry the message. Thanks for being a Rico 12 Spearhead.
I don't, I will say this. Every morning I pray the 11-step prayer. God, please bless me with the knowledge of your will for me today and give me the power and the strength to carry that out. I also pray, and I pray this before I speak anywhere, God, empty me of me and fill me with thee. Because I don't prepare a speech and if there's a topic, there's a topic. I do things as it relates to the topic. But if I'm an empty channel, then God really is speaking through me anyway. So I say, empty me of me and fill me with thee. And that's it. I don't get nervous. A lot of people have asked over the years, do you get nervous? No, because there's a line in the book. It says, God is everything or God is nothing. I know people really attach to that, but I want to offer something different that's also in the big book. It says, God is or God isn't. So God is in this podcast with me or God isn't. God is in those dishes that I was trying to do or God isn't. God is in my aunt who offered that information or isn't. God is with my friend who I was trying to, and then I turned around and got mad at her because she wouldn't accept me injecting my will. Such a selfish cow, weren't I? So that's the thing. It's like God is or God isn't. And that's what I have to ask about everything. There's only 3 reasons that I get disturbed. 3. I get disturbed when I'm playing God because no one's going to do what I want. I get disturbed when I'm not getting my way. And I get disturbed when I'm self-reliant. Those are the only times I get upset, overwhelmed, afraid about anything is when I'm playing God, when I'm not getting my way, and when I'm self-reliant. So I think that's it for me. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sherri, for an amazing Rico 12 speaker meeting. Grateful for your willingness to share with us. And you out there in the live audience or the listening audience with the podcast, if you have questions for Sherri, please send me an email at rico12pod@gmail.com. If you'd like to connect with her, send me that. We'll get you connected so you can ask those questions, have that conversation. Also consider joining our WhatsApp community, asking questions in there so that we as a community can bounce these things off of each other. If you haven't done so yet, please consider rating and reviewing the podcast in Apple Podcasts and or Spotify. It's a powerful way to work step 12 and share recovery with others. Come back next week. We'll have another great speaker and Q&A session with Robert P., the recovery guy. He's a guy that we always have great conversations. He's been on here several times. We've done a series called Ask It Basket, and he's excited to come join us next week. And once again, starting in February, we'll be doing a 12-week series on each of the 12 steps. As of today, we still need speakers for steps 2, 5, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So if anybody out there has any of those steps that are just weighing on you and you'd like to share on those, send me an email, rico12pod@gmail.com. We'll get that. Now let's launch out of here. Sherri, if you wouldn't mind launching us out of here with the prayer of St. Francis.
Sure. I forgot about that part, and that's a part that's a prayer I don't know on purpose. Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, no
I
worries.
also do it a little bit differently. So if you'll bear with me, you do not have to think that I'm reading it wrong, because I actually am. So here we go. And thank you again, Justin, so much for having me. Thank you, everybody, for your time and attention. Lord, make me a channel of thy peace. May I bring love. May I bring the spirit of forgiveness. May I bring harmony. May I bring truth. May I bring faith. May I bring hope. May I bring light. May I bring joy. Help me to love, comfort, and understand. Amen.
Amen. I love that version. Good stuff. Thank you, Sherri. Remember, everybody, there is one who has all power. That one is God. May you find God now. Come all the way, keep coming back, and when you do, come all the way in, sit all the way down. Let's trudge this road of happy destiny together. Work it. You are worth it.
I've seen stars fall from above. I've fallen in and out of love. I've been high and I've been low. Now I know I just can't do this on my own. I've seen a boy become a man. He got lost without a plan. He's so far away from home. Now I know I just can't do this on my own. Your arms surrounding me. Your touch is grounding me. No longer searching for purpose all alone. 'Cause now I know that I just can't do this on my own. I'm looking for the words to say. You make the world a better place, and I can call that place my home. 'Cause now I know that I just can't do this on my own. Your arms surrounding me. Your touch is grounding me. No longer searching for purpose all alone. 'Cause now I know that I just can't do this on my own. So let me see just what you need to set you saw stars fall from above. I fell in and out of love. I got high and I fell low. But now I know that I just can't do this on my own. No, I just can't do this on my own. I just can't do this on my own.